Well, hello and welcome back to my sewing room. I'm so happy that you're here. And I'm looking forward to just having a little chat and a little show and tell of what I've been doing with the granny square along and the progress that I've been making. So I'm going to show you my quilt blocks and matching granny squares that I have so far. Now these are ones that I have not shown you. I've shown some on Instagram that I've made, and I've shown some on my first video of the introduction of the granny square along. So these are all new ones, and working out of the Great Granny Squared book. I'm doing 6-inch blocks like that are in the runner here, but I'm going to be making more than the runner. I'm going to be making a quilt. Now a lot of you have been doing the cover quilt out of the 12-inch blocks, and I love that. I love seeing that. And so continue posting those, that's fun. But I'm just going to show you, and you saw in the video a lot of what I have, the blocks that are completed so far, but I'm still going to be making more. And I'm just going to go through these and show you and tell you what fabrics I've used and what color of yarn, because I promised you that I would do that, and a lot of you have been asking and want to know. So as far as this combo right here, this is Riley Green, this is Peony, this is Peacock, and this is Butterscotch, and that's in the yarn colors. And speaking of that, I talked to you about this new chart last week, the chunky thread yarn colors, and so this is kind of a nice thing to have, to be able to know what colors you have and match. And so I'll just kind of keep that right there. I hope I'm not putting that out of the screen, sis. I move that over a little bit. Okay. And so the fabric collection is, I'm using the same collection that I told you about in this quilt, which is from my Bee Backgrounds collection, and this is called Sea Glass Circles. And I'm using the same background for all of my 6-inch granny squares in the quilt. And then I'll be using a different fabric for the sashings, and I'll show you that when it comes time for that. So this green print right here comes from my Granny Chic collection. This pink comes from Bee Plaids. This one comes from Bee Basics, and this one comes from Stitch. All right, I'm just gonna grab a bowl and put my granny squares in so that I can stack these when I'm finished. So I've got 4 here. And I'll just take off one at a time so that you can see what I'm talking about. And so the yarn color, this is Autumn, and this is Riley Aqua, this is Butterscotch, and this is Basil. All right, just stick that in there. And then as far as fabric goes, we've got Bee Plaids, Granny Chic, Prim, and Farm Girl Vintage. Okay. And yarn colors, we've got, this is Alpine and Beehive, Frosting, and Denim. Prints, we have, this is from Vintage Happy 2. This is from Prim. This is from Bee Plaids, and this is from Bee Basics. This is really testing my memory here to remember everything. All right, so here we've got this, and the yarn colors are Cayenne, Leaf, Beehive, and Steel. And then this is Bee Basics, Prim, Flea Market, and Stitch. We've got this last one here. This outside is Jade, this is Honey, this is Autumn, and this is Songbird. And then this is from Flea Market, this is from Granny Chic, this is from Prim, and this is also from Prim. And these are all, when I'm saying the names of these collections, these are all my fabric collections that I design for Riley Blake Designs, and they produce and distribute. And got little threads on these. Okay, so for this granny, this cute little granny, I've got Lipstick, Spring Green, Riley Red, and Songbird. And then this is Be Basics. This is Cookbook. This is Stitch. And this is a Be Basic as well. You can see my mind just working. Can you feel my mind working trying to remember my collections? All right, so for this granny, we've got Riley Green, Butterscotch, Lipstick, and Riley Red. And this is Granny Chic, this is Stitch, this is Prim, and this is Cookbook. All right, for this we've got Riley Aqua on the outside. We've got Linen and Spring Green and Raisin. And then we've got Be Basics. This is Cookbook. This is Prim, and this is Be Cross Stitch. All right. For this granny, we've got Leaf, Beehive, Lipstick, and let's see. Yeah, that's Pebble for sure. Takes me, because these are newer colors, sometimes I'm a little bit slower on the newer colors. And then for this, we've got Bee Plaids. This is Flea Market. Nope, this is Stitch. This yellow's in Stitch. This is from Autumn Love, and this is also from Stitch. Okay. Okay, we've got 4 more to go here. So on this granny, we've got Spring Green, Lipstick, this is Breezy, and this is Raisin. And then we've got Granny Chic, Cookbook, Vintage Happy 2, and Flea Market. On this one, we've got Honey on the outside, Peacock, Basil, and Terracotta. And then right here for the square, we've got Flea Market, Vintage Happy 2, Flea Market, and Be Cross Stitch. All right, this one we've got Breezy on the outside, then Denim, then Spring Green, then Cayenne. This is Stitch, Vintage Happy 2, Prim, and Flea Market. All right, last one. So that's 13 new ones that I have today to show you that I have not shown on Instagram. So this one right here is Frosting, Spring Green, Peacock, and Denim for the yarn colors. And now we've got Stitch, and this is, oh, I forget, oh yeah, this is my Be Basics. This is Be Basics, and this is Flea Market. All right, so that is 13 quilt blocks to add to my collection of quilt blocks. And then of course I've always got a stack of grannies going. Now, I talked to you about this last week. It's a free PDF, so don't forget to download that if you haven't done that, and keep showing your progress on your quilt and your blocks, because that's exciting. And so the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was, I just wanted to show you that I'm still working on my cross stitch. I haven't added any, but I'm still going to continue adding 2 more squares, or I kind of have something in mind I want to do with this 4. So I want to show you kind of a finished item and do a tutorial for that when I decide what I'm going to do. But let me tell you, I have loved seeing you guys stitch on this freebie. And it's been so fun to see all the finishes that you're doing and just all the color combinations that you've been doing. Some of you have been stitching right off of either my Aurifloss set, my Prim Aurifloss set that's called for in the chart, or the DMC. But I've seen many other color combinations and many other different types of flosses used, and that's so exciting. I'm just using DMC for mine, and any combination works. And I get inspired by these granny squares as well as these great granny squares. And so I hope you do too on different color combinations. And so that's what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the video. So can you, thanks, take that away. So I want to talk to you about how I get my inspiration and ideas on granny squares and maybe the different color combinations. And just by seeing other people's is always an idea. And so that's why I'm going to give you those colors of what I do. But one of the things that I do a lot is I'll take like just a few colors and work with that within that instead of working with all of the colors all of the time. I will, so in this bag, let me just show you it's better. So see this cute little package. This is sampler package number 4. Sampler package number 1 is completely sold out. When all of these are sold out, we're not redoing these little tiny samplers anymore. So I believe, I didn't check as of filming, but I believe we still have 2, 3, and 4 available. But this is number 4. And so I just wanted to show you that, let me put these away so these aren't quite a visual right now. I wanted to show you that I crocheted all of these grannies out of this package. And what I did, you know, I haven't blocked these or anything, is I just started with just different color combinations. So I can start moving these around like that so that they're different. So the yellow's over here. But let me show you, let me tell you what these colors are so that you kind of know, because it does not say on the package, it's just a sampler package number 4. But what we have in here is spring green, we have breezy, we have frosting, we have brick, we have butterscotch, and this is not, I want to say, this is wheat. I want to say linen, but they really are quite different. It's more of a tan khaki color. And so, I don't know if you can see those all the way down there. But of course you wouldn't have to use the sampler package. You could just, these come, all 6 of these colors come in the skeins as well. And so you could continue on. But I wanted to show you that I could possibly get another granny out of these. I don't know, this is just what I had left and that I wound on my floss flowers. But I basically pulled this out to show you that you could be working with 6 colors at a time and how each granny looks different according to color placement. And so that's really fun. And when, you know, I could grab another package and do more, or just grab the skeins. I don't know if I'm going to put this into a pillow or what I'm going to do yet. I had just done this a long time ago to see how many grannies I could get out of that sampler package. I can get several rows of these, but I might not be able to have enough. This has the most, and I don't think that has enough for, for a last row. But I could still get a lot of rows done with this before I grabbed a skein to finish those off. So that's kind of fun to see that way, and just working with those 4 colors. And so what I mean is I would just make sure that I have a center row with each of the colors, a second row with each of the colors, a third row with each of, each of the colors, and so on and so on. And that's just automatically coordinated, and that's really fun. And so I just wanted to show you that. That is inspiration for you, and any of the sampler packs would work, or just grab 6 colors and you wouldn't have to do 6, you could do 4. I just did 6 because that's what's in the sampler pack, but because there's 4 rows of, every granny, then you could just simply pick 4 colors that you wanted. Say pick these 4 colors and do the same thing. and do a starter with all 4 colors and then do a second row different. And what I mean by starter, that's what I'm going to go on to next. So I've been doing this for quite a while, making granny starters. And when I started doing this was, I go camping a lot, or glamping as you might say, because I have all the comforts of home in my trailer, so I call it glamping. But when I travel in the truck, when we're pulling the trailer, you know, Mr. Honey's driving and I'm crocheting, because that's something that I can do while I'm driving and I enjoy doing that. But as you well know, the fussiest part of starting a granny square is the center, and it never fails that every time I'm trying to join the chains or join whatever I'm trying to do, we hit a bump, right? And so I'm just like, okay, I need to already have a starter going so that I don't have this fussy part in the truck and I don't have to worry about hills and valleys and bumpy roads as we go along. And so I started doing starters. So right in here, in this cute little dish here, and by the way, look at that cute dish. It's a little vintage oval dish with a cross stitch pattern. I love that. And I just went ahead and crocheted up a bunch of starters. I always have starters going. But last night I sat down and filled in the spaces that I didn't have, meaning I just wanted to make sure that I had one of every color to show you. And so a lot of times when I'm doing this, while traveling, I just keep them in a little dish or a little plastic bag, and then I just pick one up. Most of the time I keep them in here in my tin. This is kind of my go-to crochet kit as I'm traveling. So I would just, in fact, I have one in here that I haven't done, but I will just throw these in here, and then these are also the things that I start my starters with, right? On my floss flowers. So I just have those in here. And it also helps me to make sure that if I do start out with one of every color in the beginning before I finish them all, I know that I'm using all my colors and not just leaning towards the same colors over and over again. I want to be able to use all 32 or all colors that I have. And so traveling, that's what I do. I'll usually take these muffin tins with me that I use a lot. I've always used these vintage muffin tins that I've spray painted. I've used these for a long time, but I use these for sorting, for buttons, for fabric pieces, but these seem to be the perfect thing to split these up. And then a lot of times I will lay these out like this, and then I'll just put a yarn color on top of like the second color that I want to do. And then I just kind of stack them on top of each other and just pick one up after they're filled up. Okay, you can find all kinds of sorting trays. Doesn't mean you have to have muffin tins. This is just something that's handy in my sewing room that I use all the time. And so I just want to show you what I do, and hopefully that may inspire you. And so when I'm deciding, let me put these back in here. When I'm deciding what I want for the second rounds, I kind of do the same thing. And meaning I will just go through, and I know I have a starter of each color, so I want to only use a yarn a second time. Well, let me get that out of the way. Sis, you want to take that? So then I'll just make sure, you know, this chart comes in handy for that. I'll just make sure that I'm using one color again and putting a second round. I don't really plan it out. I just, you know, pick something up. And let's see, I've got my little quick bag here, but I usually keep my yarn in this bag. I've shown you that before, but I dump these in this bowl so I could show you what I'm talking about, and also show you what I've been doing in my bag right here is to stop the ends from, you know, coming off and unwinding in my bag and making it a mess or in my basket. I've been using my little stitch markers here, and my stitch markers come like this in a little tube if you haven't used them before or seen them. But it's perfect to just use them. Here's the end right here, and I just dig in real deep, close that, and that stops that from fraying out. And so I've been using those for that. So there's another little tip. And so what I'll do is I always make sure that I have one of every color, no matter how big or small. I've been having to wind these, you know, go into here and wind some new ones. Like this one has been very small for a couple of weeks. So I need to get my winder out and wind a new cake out of it, but I like to use this to the point where it's almost gone. And that's what I'll do. I'll just, when I get my winder out, I'll look like a half a dozen that need to be wound that are really tiny, and I'll start with that. And so I'll just take this and I will pick any color in this bowl that looks great next to it, use that, and then set it aside in my bag or in another bowl, knowing I have already used this color for the second round. And then I'll just continue on and on. So basically what I'm doing with this, with my starters, is I'm doing the same thing as I showed you that I'm doing with those 6 colors, but I'm working with 32 colors this time. And I just go through and do it that way systematically. I'm using my yarn colors, spreading it out evenly, and it's just kind of a fun little game for me. That's just a little challenge for me, and so I'm challenging you to do that. I often do that with my granny squares and play with colors that way, and I kind of do the same thing with quilting a lot when I'm doing scrap quilts and things like that. And so I just wanted to show you how I do that, and maybe you'll be inspired to do some starters. It's really easy to pick these up and just start working on the second round. Now, another advantage of doing a bunch of starters is for beginners when they're just starting to learn to crochet. As I've said, this row is the fussiest, and the reason it's the fussiest is because it's hard to hold on to, because it's a smaller thing. And you know, I've shown you how to do the granny square and things like that, but once you get that down, if you're doing several at a time, you're going to get that down. You're going to get all of those starters done, and you're going to definitely know that you have the first row down, and you're not going to have any problems. You know, your muscle memory is going to remember that. You're going to remember the pattern easily without having to, you know, look at this chart or, you know, come back and look at my video or whatever. You're just going to have it memorized very easily. So that's a good advantage. And while I have these starters out, I wanted to give you another tip too. As I have shown you before, how to tell the difference between the right side of a granny. Okay, it says tell me if I'm in the center here. I want everyone to see this. Okay, so there's the right side of a granny, and here's the wrong side of a granny. And how you can tell, what I always say, the wrong side is sort of flat to me. All these kind of look squiggly. All the little double crochets look squiggly, and it's kind of flat. It almost looks like you just put an iron on it or something. But the front is more raised up. You can see your chain stitches. It kind of has more dimension, and you can see those double crochets and how they individually look. I've had a lot of people say they're having a hard time remembering once they've done a couple of rows. You know, they switch over and they're working from the back side instead of, you know, the front side and things like that. So what you can do is when you take these, when you're doing these starters, or you take that after you've finished that, you already know what the back side is because you just finished it. So it would have been facing to you at that point, right? And so just hurry and put a stitch marker right there. It's not going to stop you from crocheting that second round, and that will help you to remind you until your granny square is done that that is the back side. So I hope that helps in doing that. And I've had several people have luck with that. And so that's what I had to show you about that. So that's my progress and what's been going on. Let me look at my notes, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. The last thing I want to talk about is a challenge. So I gave a challenge last week in my video about crocheting something from every room of your house, or, you know, your kitchen, your bedroom, living room, whatever. And I've been posting on Instagram, and you have as well, and that's been really fun. So I want to issue you another challenge besides doing starters. I want to issue a challenge to take inspiration from quilt blocks, because you may not be doing the same thing that I am already, making a granny to match your quilt blocks, but I just think that's really fun. If you're not making the quilt and you're just making grannies, there is still quilt blocks out there, or there is fabric out there that you can take. Like, look at this this fabric happens to have several colors in it. And, you know, you can take inspiration from that. This fabric has several colors, and gather 4 colors. And so your challenge is this time is to either take a quilt block, whether it's a Great Granny Squared, or any quilt block, or any fabric that you find inspiration from those 4 colors, and make a granny from it and post it on your Instagram, your social media, Facebook, if you do Facebook and things like that, and just show your granny that's made and show your inspiration from that. And I think that will be really fun. So that's this week's challenge for the Granny Square Along. And I just wanted to tell you a reminder last week. I know that's really shiny. But that's the giveaway that I talked about last week in my video. So I'm just reminding you that if you did not watch last week's video to enter to the giveaway, to go ahead, watch the video, find out how to enter the giveaway, and enter the giveaway in that video, and the winner will be announced in a couple of weeks. And let's see, what's the date that I said that I would announce that? On the 22nd. July 22nd is when the winner will be announced. And so I think that's all I have to tell you in this video and show you. I will keep showing on my Instagram, and again, I will be having a video. Next week is my remix number 6 video, and then after that I'll be having another Granny Square Along video. And so again, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. Please don't forget to enter the giveaway last week, and I will chat with you later.